Okay, so Michael, thanks again for being here. How are you?
Here. I'm not so bad. How are you?
Good, good. Um, okay, so for your first questions, what program are you in? What year? And where were you living before you moved to Ottawa?
Yeah, so I'm in my fourth year of economics and public policy, and I'm originally from Aurora, Ontario, which is just north of Toronto.
Okay, wonderful. So since first year, Michael has been a dedicated executive member of the Economic Student Association, which is the governing body that represents the economics students, students in the economics program. And he's been able to benefit greatly from the co-op program. So, Michael, in first year, did you live on residence? So if you did, how was your transition to campus?
Yeah, I did. I lived in the now closed Brooks residence, and I think for me at least that style of residence, which was it was the apartment style. So I had my own bedroom and there was a kitchen and bathroom, kind of all in one unit. So for me, that style made the transition a lot easier. Just kind of me personally having my own space. Um, and yeah, the transition to campus, it was a good one. I think living on campus really helps, especially I had the meal plan, so I was going to the cafeteria, eating with everyone else who's just getting to campus for the first time. So I think that all really helped kind of get you acclimated because you're with people who are going through the same thing as you are, experiencing a lot of the same emotions and all of that, moving away for the first time. So that really helped.
Yeah. So I know we don't really know what's happening in the fall for residences, so we are staying optimistic, but there might be the chance to come in for the winter. So more broadly, how did you find your experience on campus and also living in Ottawa?
Uh, yeah, like I said, I think having the meal plan really helped with the on-campus experience. It solidified friendships that I made in 101 week. Just being able to go eat meals together, catch up, take a break from the studies or whatever you got going on, and just chat with friends. So that was really nice. U Ottawa's got a great campus. I do truly love the campus here. We have a lot of green space with Tapperary lawn and scattered across campus. Um, we have new buildings coming up left, right, and center. I think every time I step on campus, there's something new happening and something new under construction, uh, which is uh, which is always great because that just means that there's so many more beautiful spaces that are being created. And then more broadly, when you're talking about Ottawa, I truly love Ottawa. I believe it was Daria that said, it's a much slower pace than Toronto. I love it because it growing up in Aurora, I was close enough to Toronto where, as I kind of got into my teens, that's where I would go spend a lot of time with friends, just kind of, going to baseball games, hockey games, what have you. But I still lived in a smaller town, so Ottawa's kind of that nice mix of you get the small town feel, but with all the amenities of a big city. Um, and there's a lot, being the nation's capital, there's a lot of beautiful parks, historic sites, stuff like that you get to explore. So it's a great city to live.
Yeah, yeah, it's really a dynamic place. So now, can you tell us a little bit about your role in the student association, and maybe describe to us some of your projects and the initiatives that you've been doing throughout the years?
Yeah, so like you mentioned, I've been a member of the executive for 4 years, since my first year, and then I just finished up this last year as president. My time with the association has come to an end, but it was a great experience all around. Some of the projects I worked on in my first year, I organized a debate between MP. So I had an MP from the Conservatives, the Liberals, and the NDP come and debate economic issues because we are the Economic Student Association. Um, and then, as I kind of went into other portfolios, I worked on the same style of event. I was the vice president of academic affairs. So my job there was to advocate for students mainly. So if a student has an issue with a professor, they can come to me and we can help kind of mediate the conversation there. And then beyond that, organizing events where we bring in speakers from the government, from professionals in the industry, we organized a panel on NAFTA, so they come and speak to
Oh,
students
wow.
about their experience as an economist. We've brought in alumni from the economics program to talk about what's next. So it actually kicked off a series that the faculty now spearheads called "Meet the Future You." So you can talk,
Oh, yes.
so you can meet alumni from your program, and they run it for each undergraduate program and see what they're up to. They talk about their experiences at the university and what they're doing now, and you can kind of get an idea of what's in store after. So those are, some of the main projects that I worked on when I was with the association. And then beyond that, we do social events for students and philanthropic events to help charities in Canada and locally in Ottawa.
Nice. Wow. So a vast array of things. What would you tell students who are interested in getting involved in a student association? When can they do that, and how do they go about doing that?
So it varies from association to association. So, like I said, the Economic Student Association, the ESA, is the recognized student government for economic students specifically. You have, I believe, there's 6 or 7 different associations just within FSS. So there's one for psych, one for crim, and then all the other programs as well. So it really depends what your association and how they're set up and who you fall under. So we'll speak to the Economic Student Association, and most of us operate along the same lines. We have positions for first years and stuff like that. So with this Economic Student Association, you can get involved from your first year starting in September. We have our 4 junior vice presidents, which is how I started with the association. And it's just a simple application process. There's an interview, and then we pick, the best candidate from the selection of candidates, and then they assist the vice president of the same portfolio in the day-to-day tasks that they do. They get to organize events and help out with the general running of that portfolio. And then from there, if you want to be a vice president or president, after you've got some experience with the association, you run in an election. We have by-elections in the fall if there's any empty positions. And then we also have our general elections, which happen in the spring for the May to start in May. And then if, running in a campaign is not your thing, if you're a bit shy, we also have directorship positions, which are open to any student in any year. And it's same as the junior vice president application process and an interview. And if I could recommend anything, I would definitely just recommend to get involved. If you think you want to do it, just do it. We're all, we're friendly people. We don't bite. So toss your name in the hat, and it's a great experience.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. So now let's talk a little bit about your co-op experiences in the co-op program. Where have you worked, and is there one that stands out? One position that stands out?
Okay, yeah. So I've had a handful of positions. So I was actually supposed to start my final co-op last week. Unfortunately, it's been delayed. I'm going to start it in September instead. And it's going to be at Global Affairs, which is actually where my first position was as well. And then my other 2 were with Canada Border Services Agency and Employment and Social Development Canada. If I had to say one stood out, I would definitely have to say it was my time at Global Affairs back in 2018, because I was working in the chief economist office at Global Affairs. So it was a really great experience, and it happened to kind of align with NAFTA renegotiations and the start of the trade war and the steel and aluminum tariff. So it was definitely never a dull moment in the office. I found I was, being pulled out of like a seminar that our DM was giving after we wrapped up the G7 meetings in Charlevoix, and I went to the deep. And 5 minutes in, my boss came down and pulled me out, and they said we have work to do because it was rapidly evolving, rapidly changing. So it was a lot of fun to be in that environment.
Wow. Can you talk a little bit about the course sequence in terms of when you take your classes and when you have your work term and how that works?
Yep. So you do your first full year in whatever program you're in. You take all those courses, then you get your summer off. It's your last free summer, so enjoy it. And then you do your full second year, and then you start your work term after that. So you start your first work term in the summer after second year, and then from there you do your work term, and then a school term, and a work term, and a school term, and a work term, and it just changes until you've done 4 work terms, and then you finish up your schooling if you have any. You would have 1 semester after your last work term for sure, and then if you have any other courses to finish up, you do that after that as well.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Quick last question about co-op. What kind of positions or tasks are you doing in economics and public policy? What does that entail?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, my first job was in the chief economist's office at Global Affairs, so it was doing mainly trade economics, looking at trade statistics, stuff like that, and assisting in the analysis of the trade statistics that were coming out, looking at certain indicators to kind of explore that. So there was a lot of learning in economics to be done there. So that was a lot of fun. And then I was also in a labor economics position at Employment Social Development Canada. So if you've ever used the ESDC job bank tool, I worked on that. And I worked on the wage indicator. So exploring, essentially what is the prevailing wage in Canada for each occupation. And then with Canada Border Services Agency, I was in that position for a year total. So I did 4 months as a co-op and then 8 months part-time. And that was a policy job. So that was looking at Canada's valuation policy, not to get in the nuts and bolts too much, but essentially how to value goods coming into Canada. So it was a lot of fun because I got to advise on policy, on our existing policy, make sure that our policy is in line with our laws and regulations and our international obligations, and draft new policy. So there was a lot of really cool experiences there. So it's been all around a great experience, and I've gotten to work in my field, which was good.
Nice, amazing. Okay, so last question. In closing, Michael, what would be your top tips for incoming students this fall?
My top tips. I would have to say number 1, get involved. Like I mentioned,
What was that?
Get involved. Get involved with whatever you want to get involved in. Get involved. For me, it was student politics. That is definitely not everyone's cup of tea, but there is a club on campus for everything, whatever you're interested in. And if there isn't, you can start it. Because there are other people on campus who share the same interest as you do. And you can get funding for your club through the University of Ottawa Students' Union. They fund all the clubs on campus. I don't remember the exact number, but I know it's, I'm pretty sure north of 100 clubs on campus. So get involved however you want to get involved on campus, because it's gonna make making friends so much easier when you're surrounding yourself with people who share your interests, and you'll make the most of your time on campus, and it gives you something to do and associate with the university that isn't just classes and homework and exams.
Nice, wonderful, great tip. So thanks for being with us, Michael.